Spoken label. I haven't thought about flying for a long time. I haven't dreamed at that moment when I was alone above the clouds for a long time. I've dreamed waking up in a room surrounded in blue and green grass for more years than I could dream of remembering. I haven't walked back into the past or scratched on the doors of my origins, where it all came from, since I held up that cape for the last time.
Return to Cape Town 10th Year Anniversary Edition is a revised version of Andy N's first poetry book. The book can be purchased from Amazon and it contains numerous additional material.
Spoken label.
Hi, it's Andy N from Spoken Label. Spoken Label was originally set up at the beginning of 2016, and records show it started off really as a one-off podcast chatting to writers, poets and artists. Over time, it became monthly, then weekly, and occasionally nowadays it goes on back to a more regular basis. To date, I've done over 330 sessions, and I'm always looking for new poets, writers, artists, singer-songwriters, general interesting creative people to come onto the podcast. You can find this on all the usual networks over Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, Podbay, and dozens of others. But it does have a central database of spoken label, which is all one word, .bandcamp.com. Obviously now, to help me with the running costs of this podcast, I'm always grateful for any kind of donation to assist me with it. You can either do the donation through the Bandcamp page by putting in a fee to download one of the free podcasts, or send it over to my PayPal to AEN1MPO at yahoo.co.uk. My email address again is aen1npo at yahoo.co.uk. Enjoy the podcast. Take care. Bye.
Spoken label.
Hey guys, Andy N, Spoken Label, back in the house on a Sunday afternoon. We're off to a country today and with a writer. I've not actually interviewed him with this country before, but the young lady that's with us, I came across her work about a year ago, absolutely blew me away. Some of the best writing and artistry as well I've come across in poetry, and that's saying a lot. So I'm just going to let this young lady introduce herself, and then we'll take it in there, because she's going to tell us, first of all, about where she comes from and what started off with her creativity. Over to you.
Hi, Andy. Good evening. So I'm actually from India. Right now, I'm in a city called Bengaluru, and it's in the southern part of India. I've been here for almost a year, but this is not where I grew up. I grew up in a small town called Ambala, and it's where I'm going back. Like I just told you, I'm heading back to my native in a few days, flying back. It's a permanent shift. So as far as writing is considered, I think it started somewhere around the age of 14 or 15. And I sort of distinctly remember that period. I didn't write when I was, like a child, but around this age of 14 or 15. And I remember sitting in front of my window, and I was just filled, overwhelmed with the sense of beauty. I think that is where it began. And like Rilke said, beauty and terror. That's what unfolded next, most of it. So at that point of time, I'm actually a network engineer. So I did engineering. I worked in the corporate for a while. And then I had this health issue. So I went a kidney transplant around 2016, January. So around that time, I think I started writing again. And that was the period, I think, for me, where I took back to writing. It sort of naturally, I think, automatically happened, because I think when you go through something like that, you said it had begun early on, this need to make sense of things. But this is something, writing is what became kind of like a crutch at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. You wouldn't know this, but I became diabetic back in 2011.
Yeah.
and that certainly focused my writing a lot more. It changed what I wrote before. And I think a major health condition, which I did read about you going on in 2016, I think does really impact your creativity. I think it focuses you in different ways, doesn't it, really? So,
Yeah, I think you just start to view the world in a different manner. The body as a metaphor emerged in my work, I think. And I think using the body as a metaphor, it's like this portal where I would express both where my mind and body and the interplay between the two, and how so I think it takes a pivotal role because body has its own demands. I think the pain, the
yeah,
physical intensity of it tends to take a central place in your life. And more than that, it's probably the emotional baggage that comes with it, as in what is happening, why is it happening, or what are the consequences of this for my life now. So
yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you completely. It does. I think illness is a horrible thing to get anyway when you have something change your life. And you've had it twice now, haven't you? Like you were telling me off mic before, and I did know about this anyway again as well. When you contracted COVID, didn't you, a couple of years ago?
yeah. Yeah,
And I
so
think,
that was like last year, because I'm a kidney transplant person, so I'm on immunosuppressants, which meant that an infection like COVID would take a greater toll. So it was actually harder than the kidney transplant, to be very honest.
yeah,
And
understandable.
it's taken almost a year to recover from it, but luckily it's gone well. The recovery has been well. So
Yeah, and
I'm
understandable.
hopefully on it.
When we went into lockdown in England, and this would have been more extreme for you as well, because
Yeah.
I know of an Indian poets, and I heard some terrible stories when I was doing Zoom readings at that time. But in my case, where me and my wife live, as soon as we went into lockdown, I wasn't allowed to leave our flat for about 6 months, and we kept saying, "Don't go
Hmm.
outside." And it was just a terrifying experience, and I think that really impacted my writing, and it made me more
Hmm.
look at things again in a different way. And I think from your work, I've seen in the last 2 years, certainly, or since COVID, you got COVID, I think it's changed again, hasn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think there's been this shift in the writing because of the experience of the rehab center that I was. And it's a very mixed experience. These extremes, I think you contact the extremes of life and then it changes you. And I think at that moment, there is the primitive DNA sort of kicks in. You're in this fight mode because, you're determined. I was kind of determined that I have to get through this. And um, there was I didn't like fall apart, like there wasn't this depression which I was more
Mm,
used which I anticipated might happen, but it did not, luckily. Or I have a feeling that it might come at some other stage, but I'll deal with
mm,
it in retrospect. But there was this sense of trying to make everything sacred. I think I started viewing the body and it's in this way that it can also work miracles. It's not just, how should I put it? Like, it's an extremely complex living thing. And I thought of it like if I keep faith in the body, the creative living force in a way, and that there is a way to get out of things, or if not completely healed, I wanted to just have this faith and see the body blooming and see that it can manifest itself in different directions. And I would listen to a lot of classical music when I was there and draw a little bit. I think it helped me transport myself from the limitations of my, condition at that moment.
yeah, no,
So, yeah.
I understand you completely. I think the drawing for you is a very vital part of your work anyway, because certainly as I've got to know you through your work, and this, like, people who have known, it's actually the first time we've actually really talked today. Like, we talked a little bit on Facebook
Yeah.
Messenger, but not lots, and I've got to know you through your work, and I found it fascinating stuff with, like, because you're such a multidisciplinary artist, and it's like, I love the word you put dabbles in, and you certainly don't dabble. Like, I was ribbing. It's about the movement in your work. I found really interesting, and you talk about a lot of the molecule. And as I'm reading off your bio, molecule is just of existence itself, and it does because you look at life in a very very deep way, and that comes across in your art as well. So with your drawings, what came first then when you were doing your creativity? Had your drawing come much later on in life?
I think the first thing was actually would probably be science. I always thought I would grow up to be a scientist or something,
Yeah.
and then I went through then I went through these stages of depression and just question everything a lot and keep looking at life and there would be this there was this certain phase where I would feel like everyone is like a biological machine, you know, we are all repeating the same patterns, and I would be stunned as to how people are doing that knowing they are inevitably going to die. So there was this whole phase, I think, growing up, and but the first thing probably writing was something that came more naturally to me, I think, as something that I had to put effort to. Drawing is something where I have to invest more effort. It just doesn't come that naturally. But I also like taking photographs a lot, and I think I enjoy that as to observe how, you know, these the elements of nature, like how the light falls in different places and its intensity, and how mundane and everyday objects, you know, they all have these recurring patterns. And if you look, so I like to take up pictures of objects that if you look at them, you would think it's something else altogether. So that is one intriguing thing that I enjoy. And
Yeah, you can see it with your photography straight away with that. So I've got two friends that are professional photographers. One does it all just taking wedding pictures, and the other one's he's an artistic one like you, and he's not on Facebook at all. But I've shown him a bit of your work, and he said to me at the time it was really expressionist. And he said he found it really, really quite striking. Is his words? Is a striking individual way you take your pictures and stuff like that. Straight away now, I think we should talk about that. People make people aware as well. It's like when I was researching, obviously, I know you've been awarded a few prizes, and you've been a finalist and at least 2 or 3 awards as well, and in nominations as well. So I think I want to ask first of all, then tell people about some of these. I know you won the Reuel International Prize, didn't you, a few years ago as well?
Uh, yes, so I think it helped me, I think, sort of because that was the year after my transplant, when I won the Reuel International Prize, when I started taking up writing more often and a little more seriously as well. And I'm grateful. I think it is an award given by Dr. Ampat Koshi in India. And so I think it helps us writers and poets in the sense that I think we would continue to do the same work irrespective of whether we get the awards or not, because it's a compulsion almost to create. But it helps you deal with the circumstances in life and gives you a little bit of a morale boost, I think.
Yeah,
So
no, I
I'm
agree.
always grateful for that. Yeah.
I agree with you completely with that as well. So, when did you start writing prose as well? Then, because I've seen that sneaking into your work more recently as well.
Yeah, so I don't think I can remember correctly as to when I started writing prose exactly, but lately I've always wanted to write more essays, and I said that is something I hope I do moving forward, photo essays or essays in general. And I think my poems revolve more around my body, my emotional character as a person, and how I interact emotionally with the living world and the non-living world. But with prose, I think it's easier for me to digress a bit and talk about elements of more objective elements and probably that are not related to me as well. So that is something I hope to explore further. Yeah.
No, definitely, because I've been like that myself. Because I'm 51 now, and I started writing poetry when I was 10. Would you believe? And the
Wow.
past 2 or 3 years, I've walked away into prose and flash fiction myself, and even a novel
Mhm.
shortly as well. But I think the way each form is very different itself, and I think it
Yeah,
operates a different switch in your brain. And I found that
true.
with music as well. So I find it fun because you must, and I know my family think of this as well. I'm intrigued to know how yours family works about this as well, because my family all still think I'm a poet, and when I start tainting,
Yeah.
oh, I do other things now, they're looking at me saying, "Do you?"
Yeah, I agree with you there. That totally happens. So my family also thinks I'm a poet, and if I'm like, I would like to try more things in art, and I do photography, and they're like, okay, and but you should just stick to poetry, maybe. And I'll be like, all right. But it's just natural tendency, I think, that we have to explore other forms of art as we do enjoy and love them.
Yeah, I do. I think that's part of the journey of being an artist, actually, a pure artist like you are, and I know I am as well. Is the fact is like we tend to be very restless spirits, I think,
Yeah,
and I can see it in your work all the time, and it's because there's a yearning for a question
hmm,
that you can't answer. I don't think,
true.
and that's why I think you
Yes.
keep writing. So I think when you answer that question, you then stop writing, don't we? I think.
Yeah, I think we all do think that perhaps is this place or the space that exists where the questioning would stop, and where this terrible yearning that we have is to make sense of the pain, the grief, and the paradoxical nature of life in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we hope that someday there would be some kind of space. I personally feel that it's unlikely that we would arrive at a place like this where it's all resolved, but maybe we can inch closer to it.
Yeah, I agree completely with that one. I don't think I'll find out the answers to what I'm trying to find in this lifetime. It'll be
Mhm.
future lifetimes then, and you don't know what's going to happen from life to life and even day to day, really, definitely.
Yeah.
So, do you have any ideas where you'd envisage your creativity to take you next step?
So I think I've been exploring a bit of performance art,
Oh, have
and
you?
maybe that is something I would like to give a shot. Perhaps self-portraits and performance art, or a mix of the two. And the other thing I was telling you about is essays. That is something I want to do. Explore science, probably more from a scientific point of view, or physics, and there's these poems I was thinking of writing about geometry, maybe focused on geometry or pure mathematics or something like that. So I hope, let's see how it spans out. Yeah.
Yeah, if people look at your work, I think you can see the scientist in you because it's like there's a lot of layers in your work, and it's like a performance art itself. I think when I'm reading your poems sometimes, because some poems you can read them in one or two sittings and think, wow, yours I often that's why I love doing it sometimes where I'll go along and read a piece you just put on Facebook, and I'm sat there thinking, well, half an hour afterwards, and I thought, that's what a great line. Then I reevaluate the piece, and I think that's quite clever writing. That so when you were growing up, was there any sort of specific writers that you really liked, or
I
not
think
necessarily just poets, not necessarily just poets, because your work is goes far beyond that. I think.
so. I think growing up, I was more, I lean more towards science. Like I said, it was more about physics, and it was only much later in life, actually, when I started reading more poets, and like Rilke, and there's a Serbian poet Vasco Popa, and Zabigny Herbert, and I think Polish poets in general. So it is an exploration here and there. Like right now, I'm reading Flatland, and it's by Edwin Abbott, and it's based in pure mathematics and geometry. So, um, so I think my inspiration with writers and poets came rather more in the later stages of my life.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Would you see yourself bringing a book out maybe someday?
Yeah, actually, I do have two manuscripts almost ready, so I'm hoping for the best. Yeah,
Fingers
soon.
crossed to that, definitely. So somebody will pick that book
Yeah,
up straight away. But it's to certainly you're gonna have a copy coming to England. So I'll be buying a copy straight away. You can
thank
get my
you.
hands
That's
on it.
very
So
kind of you.
brilliant stuff. Okay, we'll wrap up part one here because I don't want to keep you on too long today. Now, but if you want people to find out more about you with you on your writing, where do you recommend they go?
So I think the writing usually there's a switch, like you said, and I sometimes listen to music like Bach or Vivaldi while I'm writing, and there's this sort of transcendental moment, I think, where I feel like I'm connected to the different elements of life, and almost like if a stream of consciousness, you may call it, or this flow. There is this turbulent flow and this overwhelming urge, and I know that I have to create, and I will just go on writing, and that is how the first draft comes in. At other times, it would be something that I'd notice, observe around my surroundings, and then there's like a thought that sort of sticks like an insect onto your head, and you sort of like play around with that one. But more often than not, they're spontaneous bursts, I think, that happen.
Now, if people want to contact you, it's best going on your Instagram page, really, aren't you? So, but
Yes,
I do know you're on Facebook as well. So
I think about Instagram and Facebook, I'm available on both Instagram and Facebook usually. So it's by my name, Aakriti Kuntal.
yeah,
Yeah.
soon find you definitely. So brilliant. Okay, this has been a great chat, and I really enjoyed this. So hang around, everybody, because you've got the best parties to come yet. See you all in 2 months.
Spoken Label.
So I'm going to read this poem. It's titled "The Answer in Imitation." Flashes align and realign. Small thumbs scroll over the cell phone. What am I imitating? The slow drawl of my throat as it touches something I do not recognize. Mother, my face is a red bead. How do I possess my own body now? It seems to grow in uneven directions. I believe it truly lacks a name. I put letters adjacent to letters, words offend, flies tracing the trachea of some old song. What am I imitating now? Is the evening folding between my two tongues? I'm holding darkness like a toffee, and my two eyes are going blind. How do I own the synapse of these fraught energies? What is here? The earth keeps showing up every day.
Wonderful stuff. That really, really enjoyed the ending of that piece there, particularly as well. I was obviously to talk very generally about this piece. Then, what was his story behind this poem getting wrote?
So I think the answer in imitation is it was written during my recovery period, and it's how, like, as a body, as an organism, I'm trying to imitate everything in life, so that perhaps in that imitation, because sometimes I'm not sure what I'm functioning as, but I'm imitating all the things and hoping that in this imitation I can find the answer to my living. Like we sing, we dance, we imitate the elements of nature, as that is art, is what it is in a way. We imitate nature, and somewhere I'm hoping that in this process of trying to live, in this process of trying to imitate living, that I'll find the answer to living in itself. And as I get closer and I build a relationship with living itself, so it's to touch that fabric of living. And the other sense in it is that it talks about how my body is growing in uneven directions, and how I cannot make sense of how my body is going through these phases when I'm in recovery. And every day it's like you're facing a new identity, and you don't know how to sort of come to terms with that. And so that's what the poem is about.
Yeah, no, you can see it's. I think we've talked about this in the first half, where life is a journey, really. Anyway, and I think that's before I've talked with my illnesses. We know, but yours as well. It's the same, where it's how you recover. I think I do is move on from it, really. How to rebuild yourself and reinvent yourself as well. Yeah, that's absolute tremendous piece. So let's move on. Okay, back to you for poem number 2.
Lampshade hour. What is that which obtains the tongue but your one deviled eye? Conundrum egg that cooks, and after a while is neither egg nor form, but a verb worm in the elastic thoughts. Curtain spoon, fist grows in one blood nostril. Midnight spleen could scythe your chest, make the timber fibers and liver presto, fungi between tongue casseroles. Only there the light is all, atom of each pore, body, limb, body, face wear the same hair, loud, colorless symphony of zero, as your mouth finally opens up and a tiny god crawls out, enters my one eye. This could be a celebration. Even the earth with pendulum on its long neck, bend and bend until curvature is the lips' first twitch, stretching beyond time's finger, lampshade hour of a faint aluminium crease. This, but an owl clocks his bowel head, round and round, dots in the forehead, electron centrifuge over the bedroom window. The body's black feast is the walk into the cold night air. Girdles of water peel arms, and the soft flesh climbs into conjunctions, fisting the liver of the first chin, bright, bright, unearthly toe of creation.
It's absolutely first-rate piece. Really, really evocative, that. I love the use in it of we talking about a lot like the mundaneness of life, and I mean, Lampshade, the title of it is brilliant itself, that one. And I can imagine it as like, certainly when I'm in bed with my wife and if we have the lampshade on or something and you can hear all the outside noises and stuff like that. And that's what that brought up to me, talking about my life, and it's how things change when you look sitting out there thinking in reflection. So what made you write this piece then?
So this is kind of a romantic poem, and it's how so the lampshade hour, and it's I think it's a narrative poem in a sense that it goes about how the complexities, and the complexities involved in a relationship, not a relationship, but like somebody you like, and how you think this could be, but it's not happening. And that is how there was this owl, actual owl in front of my bedroom window. So I took that as an emblem, and it's like sort of this thing that this is how it could be, but it has not happened because this owl is there, or this omen is there. And so what is the body left to do? It's like it walks into the cold night air and greets the earth itself and the bright, bright, unearthly toe of creation. So, I mean, when I was in Delhi, when I wrote this poem, so I would go on these late night walks. And I think the poem concludes with that feeling of eroticism that you can experience as a person when you're connecting with nature. So it's like it revolves around, I think, overlaps between the two themes of romance and my health and this feeling of connection with nature.
Yeah, no, it does. It's you always say with writers, there is a lot of reoccurring themes in the work, and I can always hear the nature and the silence in your piece of work is incredible sometimes. And you're looking at the questions through the space in your work. That's why it works really well for me. That's a fantastic piece. So, okay, let's get on to, as they always say in Spoken Label, the big finale. So back to you for your third and final piece.
Senses. Sunlight copulates between the grills on the windowsill, inflates into a rhythm that slowly slices the neck. I bend my body over the dining table, sink into the slime wood. Smooth, it grows between the temples, a sound elongating between these flapping ears. Mint leaves dry in a utensil, the silver barking light into my eyes. I grow smaller and wider, like a dog curling into some eternity. I follow the shape of roundness, and with the sunlight on my neck and a thick black scarf in my stick stomach, nod the tiny intestine into soft sleep.
Fantastic again. And that one caught me out because I didn't think the piece was finished then, but you did a really great ending there. We pulled, I don't want to overload you in English, but it was one that had a surprising but well-worked ending on it, really. So definitely, and it's another piece that's, again, talking about the senses like it, because you are very, very visual, like with your senses in your work. That's why I think I really, really love that piece. So what's the story behind that piece? And just to wrap up with.
So I think this one is one of those pieces where I'm in more of a contemplative space where I'm observing everything around me and how the light is falling into the window and there are these mint leaves. And I think everything, if you just sort of surrender to the space around you. And I was slightly sick, like I've written my sick stomach, and I'm bending over the dining table and I'm looking at everything. And there's this moment in the living room. And I think I'm just trying to capture that moment as to how all these things sort of tend to lean towards animism as well. So all these living and non-living elements are interacting in the space. And I'm sitting in between all of this and observing this. And I think that's what the piece is about, being a part of those molecules of nature and observing everything.
Yeah, you can definitely see it without a doubt. Tremendous stuff. And yeah, that's it today, guys and girls, for another session. I want to thank my friend here today as well, because as I said, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've been looking forward to this one. We booked us in, a couple of months ago, didn't we? I seem to recall.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've been looking forward to it ever since. So let me know when you get this collection published. I would love to have you on Spoken Label again, definitely. And we'll do what I do as a deep dive into your book, and I'll be asking you all these horrible technical questions about your book. So. But it's been really enjoyed it today, so thank you. Okay, so
Thank you.
anyway, guys and
Thank you
girls,
for having me.
it's been wonderful. I've enjoyed it. Anyway, guys and girls, that's it for today. I shall see you all down the road some point. As Don Callis over at Impact Wrestling says, stay safe and stay over.
Spoken Label.